Hello and welcome. My name is Bilal Akil and welcome to the BMW Museum in Munich, which is a permanent display of various BMWs, which I will show you around. The displays vary from the first BMWs earlier on, from engines to concept cars and everything in between. So I'll show you some of the key highlights. I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. The history of BMW is that it started off making aircraft engines, and in the 1920s it then started to produce motorcycles. It entered the automotive world in 1928, and from then it's produced some fantastic cars. There was a time in the company cycle, in the corporate cycle, where in 1959 the company was almost on the verge of bankruptcy, and it was going to sell its stake to Daimler-Benz. However, it pulled out of the financial slump, and it is what it is today. So I'll show you around some of the spectacular models that have come out of BMW. This is the most iconic BMW of the late 1950s. This is the BMW 507 that once belonged to Elvis Presley. Now, there's quite an interesting history to this car. It's been restored in its current glory in its white shape, but what happened is that when Elvis had lots of female fans, they would put lots of kiss marks left on the car, so that would kind of drive him crazy. He would have to clean it all the time, and so he thought, let's get it painted red, and so obviously that would disguise any kind of lipstick mark. So that was changed. However, it was sold, and when it was sold, it was then restored to this kind of feather white color, and then the car is now, through the years, through one owner to another owner, been provided to the BMW Museum, where it sits. Just looking at its shape, it has its own presence. If you see the car in real, I don't think the photos or this video does it complete justice. The way the lights sit so kind of neatly towards the front grills, and if just the front kind of swoops over the side, and this kind of beautiful curves of the Roadster make it such an elegant and beautiful model. It sits right in its own place, and it's such a spectacular car. BMW 2002, so it's a 1968 model in its classic orange color. It was made between the years of 1966 to 1976, so a 10-year run. I am quite fond of this shape, not because of that period belonged to me, but because that's how I really kind of remember that kind of historical period. And I've seen a few of these around, and when you see this in person, it actually is such a spectacular car. I quite like the kind of orange color of this car, and its kind of round, simple lights. A very kind of simple yet clean and efficient design. So this is the BMW 3-litre CSI, and what I'm quite drawn to from this model is the particular chrome on this, on the C-pillar, on the front bumpers. I quite like its turquoise color. It has an aggressive stance. It was a racing car once back in the day, and it was also a very successful car in the European Touring Car Championship. But it has its own presence and energy. It looks like a stunning classic, and this was the kind of precursor to the BMW 6 Series that would be following after this design. Such a fantastic car to have seen in person, as is everything else here. And here we have the BMW M1, really the kind of seems to be the kind of one and only first and last BMW supercar. I hope they make more like these. So entering into this room, this is entirely dedicated to the cars of BMW Motorsport. All the kind of M division range pedigree cars are situated in this particular room, and it's exciting to see. You can pick whichever ones you like, and I'll show you which ones I am drawn to. First off, we got this E30 M3. and just like the way it draws on from the E30 that I was showing you from before, a classic racer there. And then on the other side, we got a 2002 M3 version. That was a race car. I quite like the simple front lights and the kind of back kind of rear end, and the you got the intakes there. Next up, we have the BMW E46 M3 Gtr. This was a Group GT2 car, and it was racing in the early 2000s. And what I quite like are the flared wheel arches here. And if you've seen any of the DTM engine cars earlier on, or the GT cars, the engine of this is just so loud. But a car has such a presence. It's kind of flared side arches. It's kind of typical M Sport livery. I have a particular model, a 1/18 scale car of this particular car. And so naturally, I've seen this car for quite a while. I really, really like this model. Absolutely amazing BMW CSL, BMW Motorworks racing pedigree. I mean, look at those wheels and those exhaust pipes coming out from the bottom, like kind of rollers, those wheels, look at that. Amazing BMW, look at that, 1970s. It's got the stripes. This was one of my favorite kind of cars when I was growing up. I've only had toys of this and seen like video footage of racing. It's got the kind of bat wing, as they call it. Look at that, that looks absolutely stunning. There's a room full of BMW 3 Series, each particular series, 5 Series, 8, 7 Series, and even some 8 Series are kind of set out in their own separate rooms, which is a very kind of German way of organizing museums. But I really like that kind of engineering type compact way of curating a museum. What I'm particularly drawn to is the 3 Series here, the E30, and this particular one in white. It reminds me of my friend Mark's car, so a big shout out to Mark. And having ridden in this car, the E30 model, this is a convertible. He had a hardtop coupe, and this, just looking at this model brings back so many great memories. And and it's also kind of so iconic of the 1980s, and so this model is quite a classic for me. One of the most classic BMW M3s has to be this red E30 M3 Evolution in 2.3 version. And I mean, just look at it. That is such a classic. Even today, any purist will say this is one of the best M3s around ever. There you've got the BMW M2 with all the latest M Performance parts, and you've got the beautiful livery and those alloy wheels. Just check those wheels. Wow. The M brakes, look at that. Oh, looks amazing. And the livery continues, and you can look inside. That interior just like perfectly designed, carbon fiber like wheel mirrors, and you've got the front, and it's like reminds me of like the 80s, like BMWs and stuff. It's got that new aggressive look that kind of looks like a kind of pouncing racer, and I just love the you've got the kind of these sides and the earlier kind of front bumpers. Just looks brilliant. It looks absolutely stunning. And yeah, all of them actually, they look brilliant. The one in yellow, and then you've got deep red, and then you've got a nice BMW M5 there as well. This is the BMW Z8. Some may have seen this as a James Bond car where Pierce Brosnan drives this car in The World Is Not Enough. And I had the opportunity to be driven around in this car. A friend of mine had this car in Dubai, and the kind of attention that it got then was amazing. But just the engine as it turned on, that V8 was just amazing. It just kind of growls. It has a 4.9 litre engine, and that developed like 400 horsepower. And it was just kind of, the car could really pull some, really. And when you just floor it, you could just hear the engine just, rev up. So the looks completely do it justice. It's such a classic kind of clean design. It makes a huge kind of departure from the other kind of BMWs, but I really am drawn to this particular design, and I like the tail lights just on the back. They're kind of really clean. Now you're seeing this in other cars today. Sat inside the BMW, absolutely stunning from inside. I love the kind of little piping on the leather and the way that yellow kind of goes in. This is like the M4. It's absolutely brilliant, and I like the little kind of hub as the air kind of engine on the front. Absolutely amazing. And there you go, M4, just to remind you what you're in. Brilliant cars. And just love the kind of back. Just looks stunning. Everyone thinks I'm hosting from Top Gear. Very interesting concept 2009 of the BMW I8 that you see today. This was developed in 2009. You can see how close the actual production car that you see these days is close to the actual concept. I mean, it's nice they've got the glass framings on this concept, but I wonder if that's something that could be in the future. The lights have obviously still been retained in the existing model. Beautiful curvature, very clean, soft designs. This is the BMW i8, the electric version of a sports car, very BMW M1-esque. I don't like the alloys, never have done really, but beautiful lines, great colour, particularly like the lights here. It's got an e-drive system, as you could probably tell, but yeah, there's a double spoiler that pops up here when you go up at speed, but the way the lights kind of flow into the kind of whole way, the way the whole car design flows around here, it's just absolutely stunning. The interior is absolutely amazing. So yeah, it looks beautiful. I think for one of these electric sports cars, it's absolutely amazing. Lights are aggressive, lowly stance, just amazing. Very interesting concept 2009 of the BMW I8 that you see today. This was developed in 2009. You can see how close the actual production car that you see these days is close to the actual concept. I mean, it's nice they've got the glass framings on this concept, but I wonder if that's something that could be in the future. The lights have obviously still been retained in the existing model. Beautiful curvature, very clean, soft designs. This is the BMW M6 Gt3. It's designed for racing. Absolutely stunning kind of bodywork. Huge scoops in the front that just go in there. Cool the engine, cool the brakes. Really low. Just really kind of low with the kind of lovely spoiler at the back. Flared arches. Great alloys. Brakes, tyres, Michelin alloys. Just beautiful. I'd love to race one of these. Now these are BMW's stunning motorcycle range. You got the M3 livery, the M Sport livery rather, on here. You've got the kind of round light. I'm not sure about the round light, but it gives it that classical look. And the kind of machineries where the details are stunning kind of look on that. And then this is a more powerful superbike. More kind of racy kind of lights and stuff. And one on the right seems to be with one eye. It seems to be a lot sharper, not symmetrical, but then you've got the rest of the livery. Looks brilliant. And then you've got this one, which looks good. And you've got again the M livery going around. Love the piping on the wheels, looks stunning. And then there's a bit of carbon fibre happening here. Nice view of the cockpit from here, as you can see. Not a fan of these bigger bikes, but here we got this bike, and I know a man who has one, and it's a stunning bike. Look at that gold there. If you see my earlier posts, you would have seen they're kind of parked up in the garage. So I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned. Take care. Goodbye.